Our iSchool, Our Stories. Welcome to the podcast about the stories of the University of Texas at Austin School of Information, students, staff, and faculty.
Hi everyone, my name is Arya. I am originally from a small town in Nebraska with about 7,000 people, and I ended up moving to Missouri for the rest of high school after the middle of 9th grade, and then now I'm here at UT Austin, and I'm actually a commuter student because my family lives here too now, which is really convenient. So I kind of just want to talk a little bit about who I am and kind of how I ended up here. So first of all, I am a second year student, and I am concentrating in UX design in the Informatics major, and I'm also minoring in educational psychology. The way I kind of ended up at UT was a bit different. So I'm an out-of-state student, so I didn't really know too much about UT. I was just kind of applying for different colleges, and I had actually kind of not even thought about informatics because I didn't really know what it was. I was applying, primarily I was thinking more business and thinking through that. It was also funny because I also had I was interested in innovation and science. I'd competed in a lot of science fairs in school, especially in high school. I went to the International Science Fair for creating a robotic guide dog, and then I created all these things, and they were all these innovations I created to help people. And everything I did in high school was to help people. But then I was okay, I don't really see any major that's related to helping others or user-centered perspective of innovation is probably the best way to explain it. But then I got into informatics, and because I wasn't so sure about what it was, I was okay, informatics sounds cool. And when I actually ended up looking more into it, I was oh my goodness, this is everything that I've been doing for the past how many ever years, and this is exactly what I wanted. And I didn't even know. I was just okay, informatics is cool. But then once I actually knew what informatics was, I was this is exactly what I want. Somehow everything just aligned. It just ended up happening, and I ended up what I feel is the right place at the right time, because now technology companies and more of a need for using technology to help others and thinking more along the lines of how can we create good user experiences. So once I got in and I got into informatics and I realized that I got my dream major, I was kind of thinking about what I wanted to do in college, and I ended up thinking about why don't I start a club. So I heard about the UX concentration. I was really interested in that, and I was okay, maybe there are other people like me who are interested in UX too. And so I started a club before, the idea stage was before I entered college. So I was kind of thinking through it, how I'm going to do it. I was also a little bit nervous because I was an out-of-state student. I didn't know anyone in the state of Texas. So I was kind of okay, you know what? I want to try something new. I want to reinvent myself, and I want to completely start over. So I ended up doing the club, and we had so many events, had such a great officer team, and we eventually got approved in December of 2021, and we have grown so much. And yesterday I just found out that we got the Best New Student Organization Award, which is huge because we had just started very recently, and we have put so much into it. We've had such amazing speakers and such amazing conversations, and we've had such amazing events, and it's just been great. It actually helped me realize something about myself that I didn't know. I realized how much I loved leading, and I love being a leader. I love being a president. I love being kind of the person that can motivate people. And that's one part of the thing I learned from the iSchool. I also learned a little bit about my background. I know I was doing UX And I had also taken a social justice class as one of my other upper division classes. And in that class, I learned a lot about myself, like where I grew up. I never really looked back when I was younger, and I wish I did. I wish I could have seen everything I had come across. So I had, like what I had mentioned, most of my life was in a small town in Nebraska. And also I mentioned I'm Indian too. And so kind of being a minority in that kind of a town, I didn't really think about my context. And I never really kind of thought through why I am the way I am and who I am, what my role is, and the challenges I faced. So that class was a big reflection for me, getting to know about my identity. This actually changed a lot of things for me. I ended up going from UX to I want to start my own company. And I am currently working on a startup related to education, and especially education for rural communities and small towns. I also ended up minoring in educational psychology because I realized when I was reflecting how there was a big difference in education between like cities and small towns. And I really was interested in empowering small town students through engaging educational and experiences through like UX. Basically what I mean by that is making learning fun, especially for like younger students, making them gain confidence in themselves through learning experiences. This really means a lot to me. I had created a site back in high school about like education. But then once I realized this from the social justice class, like who I was and how much education meant to me, I rechanged the whole site. And now I hope in the future, I'm working really hard on it. I hope that can be my startup and I can help all the students who need a little bit of confidence, some of the students who feel like, oh, I want to get better at studies, especially in like these rural communities where they might not have enough resources, and make them feel like, oh, I have somebody there for me and I am capable of doing amazing things with my life. I can achieve my dreams, because a lot of times in small towns, a lot of kids are like, am I going to be able to do these things? I want to make sure that these kids have the confidence of themselves. The fact that they grew up in a small town is a strength, and they should be proud of that. And they can use education as a tool to empower themselves and go reach the goals that they want. I also included kind of a component of an overall look at education, especially like the different types of education, like the importance of mental health and well-being. This like educational resources site where students can gain confidence through education is something that I really want to keep continuing. I want to hopefully help a lot of students who come from these small backgrounds and help them gain confidence in themselves and be proud. My goal from now is to help change the world through education and using the UX principles that I've learned to make education engaging and interesting, and include using the educational psychology concepts to think about education in the means of the overall way of seeing education through like mental health, emotional health, like the different factors that influence education, and combining that to create like this holistic educational website. And I'm really hoping that works out. That's kind of my plan for now. I just probably add a fun fact about me. I like singing. It tends to make me like really happy, and it connects me with my Indian culture. So overall, I'm just kind of learning about my identity here at the iSchool. And every single day I'm learning about entrepreneurship, I'm learning about UX, I'm learning about education, and I'm also learning about music. So those are the things that kind of encompass me. So thank you so much for listening, and yeah, have a great day.
And that's it for this episode. Tune in next week for more.